So I'm doing my teaching category on gene therapy, which is a newly discovered and currently in clinical trials cure for leukemia. And they're hoping to extend it to other types of cancer, but right now the research is focused on leukemia. So you have a crossword in front of you, so just as we go through the pass out, we're going to start with an activity. So I'm going to pass it out.
No, she made a face in the camera.
Okay, so with your activity, what I would like you guys to do is just read over your packet and try to answer all the questions on that little sheet, because then you guys are going to share with the class so we can learn about the different other various treatments for cancer besides gene therapy, and then I'll teach you a little bit about what gene therapy is afterwards. So you have 5 minutes or so to just discuss with your group.
Okay, pick a type. Radiation therapy to treat myeloid.
Here, radiation can also be used to reduce pain in an area of bone that is invaded by leukemia.
That's other important notes.
Yeah, that can help us understand how it might be a little bit less invasive than some other procedures.
Is everyone kind of wrapping it up?
Next to Alex. Hey, Alex.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sweet. So 2 or 3 groups have each of the different types, because I did chemotherapy, radiation, and stem cell therapy. So can you raise your hand if you have chemotherapy? Okay, so between you 3, I'll bring you a microphone. And can you guys just kind of share?
The short description of the treatment of chemotherapy is cycles of anti-cancer drugs injected into a vein under the skin or into CFS.
Okay, can you just answer the last question? Just side effects or ways that it's invasive?
Okay, so the chemotherapy kills fast-growing cells, and side effects include hair loss, mouth sores, loss of appetite, nausea and vomiting, greater chance of infection, easy bruising or bleeding, and tiredness.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, can you raise your hand if you have radiation in your group? Okay, thank you, everyone. So now we're going to go into a little lecture just about what gene therapy is and how it's different from previous treatments. And even though it's a pretty new treatment, it already has a lot of obvious benefits compared to these other treatments that you guys just learned about. So we're just going to kind of go through this. So first of all, just a background of what leukemia is. It's a cancer of the blood, and the types that they're focusing on begin in the bone marrow. So they're focusing on white blood cell leukemia, which is ALL. So leukemia cells, the problem with cancer in general, actually, is just that the cells reproduce much quicker than normal cells do, and they don't die as regularly. So what usually ends up happening is the cancer cells will grow at such a fast rate that they push out all the other cells, so the red blood cells and the platelets can't grow in the areas that the leukemia is in. And then once a tumor is formed, the cancer metastasizes and goes to other parts of the body, which ends up being a huge problem because they go to the lymph nodes, for example, or they can end up getting into vital organs like your liver. So this is the 4 general types of leukemia. And the 2 types, like I said before, that they're focusing on are ALL and CLL, which right now there's a 50% survival rate for adults. So this is what you guys went over already, so I'll just go briefly through this slide. This is the different alternatives, and I believe all of these are on your crossword. This is how gene therapy sort of started. It started a few years ago, and it was at the Perelman School of Medicine at the University of Pennsylvania, and that is on your crossword puzzle, I believe. So the T-cell therapy is being referred to as CTL019 because the protein that they attach to the cells that they extract from the patient is taught to bind to CT19, which I'll get into a little bit later. So they call it CTL019. And this is just some of the main researchers at University of Pennsylvania. What they do is they remove the T-cells from a patient's blood by doing an apheresis process. And it's basically just how they draw blood, like when you're donating blood. And then they reprogram the T-cells in their production facility, and they use a lentivirus vector to attach. That in fact is one of the side effects of gene therapy, is that it can't avoid all of the healthy B cells, so oftentimes patients will experience a lack of healthy B cells, which ends up being a problem because B cells produce antibodies that will remember what antigens came in your body, and so next time they come in, your B cells are like, whoa, you can't come in here. So yeah. So to counteract that, researchers are currently working on developing a gamma globulin treatment, which I think is on your crossword puzzle. And that's just to counteract the fact that since B cells are being wiped out, there's a lack of antibodies. I'm going to show you guys another video just as an overview of what gene therapy is, and this video also has a guy who has used gene therapy and he's still cancer-free almost 3 years later. Does anybody have any questions about gene therapy or anything I didn't cover that's on your crossword puzzle? Jared?
So it said in the adult study, it was like half of them had responded but still had signs. So what does that really mean?
So like the engineered T cells that went back in their body, for some reason, which they're still not really sure about, but for some reason they didn't attack the B cell cancer cells that like the way that they were hoping to, so the cancer just remained the same. Like it didn't affect really anything else because they didn't attack the normal cells either. Just for some reason the CAR that was programmed to attack the cancer didn't work for certain patients.
But does it help the cancer, or does it help reduce the cancer in any way?
They just didn't respond at all. Like there was no change.
I just had a question about the treatment, like the therapy. So they engineer their T cell and the patient. Is that something they do weekly? Is it a one-time thing?
It's a one-time injection. And I don't know if you heard what he said, but for every T cell that they inject, it attacks thousands and thousands of the cancer cells. So they could do another injection if they needed, but the T cells are also programmed to reproduce on their own. So it really wouldn't be needed unless something weird happened.
Which is with the engineer?
Yeah, they're programmed to reproduce, and actually they're programmed to reproduce faster than normal cells are too. So it quickly builds up like this massive army of cancer-fighting cells. Does anyone have any ideas about, like I mentioned at the beginning, how this treatment is more beneficial or less invasive or just like better in any way than any of the previous treatments that you guys learned about? Anybody else? Yes?
Less side effects.
Yes.
Doesn't attack your normal cells.
Okay, so not damaging. Okay, anybody else? No? Jessica?
Wasn't it also more effective than previous?
So a high success rate, and that will probably improve too as they continue to develop the treatment, because like I said, it's still in clinical trials right now, but yeah. Anybody else? Yes?
I don't know if this was mentioned earlier on, but it's a permanent solution.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Jared kind of said that. Yeah. So like once it works, it'll work forever. Okay, does anyone have any last questions? Yes, Thomas.
Could you possibly make them target a different type of cancer cell, like other
That's what they're
proteins?
hoping to do, and right now they're still trying to perfect this version, but they are hoping to make it at least so that it's easier for the body to identify where the cancer is located, if not to attack other types of cancer as well.
And can you just tell us why you chose this?
Oh, yeah, okay. Because I'm super interested in cancer in general, and just I've always been involved in Real Life for Life, and it's always been an interesting topic to me how your body can kind of attack itself in a way that's like unique, like nothing else really is like this. And it's just really cool that like so much research is going on right now and developing so many different treatments. And this one stood out to me because of how quickly it's grown into such a successful treatment, and like how it's already in clinical trials, even though just the beginnings of it were like 5 years ago, and just everything about it is just so like rapidly growing, and it's been so successful. So, okay, thank you for your time.